Oh, yeah.
Let's go, baby. Let's do it.
Elevation Nation, today we have a treat for you. So I just want to put this out there. When we first created the Elevation Nation podcast over a year ago, I wrote down a list of 10 guests, 10 people that I want to interview one day on the podcast, and our guest today was one of those people. I am so pumped to say that RJ Kaminski is here for a conversation on the Elevation Nation podcast, from starting his own radio club back at Boys Latin in high school to making it to the big leagues at the Premier Lacrosse League as their senior manager of brand, to helping create the Shootout for Soldiers, which has raised over $4 million for American veterans, and being a role model to so many people. We are so thankful to have him on today. RJ, what's going on, my man? It's good to catch up.
Parker, that was such a nice intro and so overly generous and exuberant, and I loved everything about it. And Sam, it's great to be with you too, brother. I'm excited.
Pleasure, man. I was going to say, Parker missed one big attribute. Parker, I can't believe you missed this one. RJ's got some sick lettuce, everybody. And if you don't know what lettuce is, it's a new term I learned. I'm trying to be hip with young kids. He's got some sick flow, some awesome hair. I'm working on growing mine out. But Parker, you missed. I think that might be the most important attribute that you got, RJ.
I'm really jealous because my hair just goes like this. It goes up.
Parker, you got to throw.
It doesn't go down.
Yeah, you know what? It's a new style that I adopted just because I couldn't find a barber during COVID time. So I just let it go, and I haven't looked back in the last year and a half. So that's why it's long.
Love it. So, RJ, for listeners, if they don't know you already, we like to obviously start it off with an elevator pitch. So let's hear it.
Got it. And you usually keep these to 30 seconds, right?
Depends how big your tower is that you're climbing up in the elevator, man.
It'll be less than that. I'll go now. All right, great. All right, my name's RJ Kaminski. I live in Los Angeles. I'm a host for the Premier Lacrosse League. I also work largely across our social and merch divisions. I always wanted to work in sports when I was a young lad. I wanted to get into sports radio. Actually got a chance to do that when I was younger and realized that wasn't the specific niche of the sport I wanted to get into. Then I started writing because I was told to be a good writer. You know what? Let me start that over. I want to hit it in 30 seconds.
Let's do it.
I'm going to backtrack. All right, cool. I want to hit it like right on.
Money.
And I stumbled over myself. So, all right. My name's RJ Kaminski. I live in Los Angeles. I'm a host for the Premier Lacrosse League. I also work largely across our merch and social divisions. I always wanted to be a storyteller from a young age, but working in sports, I wanted to be the voice of the Orioles actually growing up. But I learned that whether to be a broadcaster or be on camera, I needed to learn how to write. So I went to University of Maryland to be a journalism major, got a ton of experience there, ended up getting into the YouTube world out of college, not the news world, but it's taken me on this long, wild journey over the last 3 years. And I'm here now at the PLL, and that's my story.
And there's the podcast, everybody. Thank you, RJ. That was beautiful.
Well, yeah. Nice to talk, RJ. Thanks for joining us.
Hell yeah. Guys, this was short and sweet. I appreciate it.
No, that's awesome, man. That was a beautiful elevator pitch. I am really excited to dive into your story a bit more. I think, obviously, you're in front of the camera and behind the camera all day, every day. But I think this is going to give PLL fans, Elevation Nation, and RJ Kaminski fans the opportunity to get a little deeper with you, learn your story, some of the struggles that you went through, because we've all gone through struggles behind the scenes that people don't really see. So I'm excited to highlight some of those. But RJ, before we start, and to refresh Elevation Nation's mind, how we do things here on the Elevation Nation podcast is Parker and I are obsessed with this concept called mental fortitude. Now, we think that this is the missing piece that they didn't teach us in high school, that they didn't teach all three of us at the University of Maryland, but it's the key factor that you need as a young adult to conquer the real world. So we break it down into 3 parts. You got self-awareness, knowing who you are, vision, where you want to go, and accountability, knowing the steps to get there. And we truly believe that this is what you need to unlock your true potential in life. So that's how we're going to structure this whole episode around, and we're excited to get into it. So let's start with the first pillar of mental fortitude, RJ, which is self-awareness. So I got a question for you. What one word best describes you?
That one word would be curious.
So I'm curious why curious is your one word. Is there a moment in your life growing up that like made you realize that about yourself?
There's a bunch of similar moments that made me realize this. You ever sit in a room and someone explains a concept and they ask if anyone has any questions, and everyone does. Like, most people don't know what the hell was just said. And there's this awkward silence, and the person's like, okay, everyone understands, but no one wants to be the person that raised their hand and just says, yeah, I have no idea what the hell you just said for the last 30 minutes, so I'm going to be the guy that asked that question. I'm usually the one that takes the step to ask that. For the betterment of the group, but also more importantly myself, to make sure I understand what's going on. So that's just like a little bit of a microcosm of how I ask questions on a daily basis. Because to be good at anything, you have to you suck at it going, at the very nascent stage of what you're doing. So if you don't ask questions, you're not going to advance or get better at what you're doing. So that's the track I like to follow there.
I love that you said curious, and I'll get a little introspective here to start us off down this vulnerability road here as three young 20-year-old men, which we usually don't do. But why I love that you said curious, RJ, is I've been doing some deep thinking myself the past year. Just turned 26, right? I'm not fresh out of college anymore. I'm starting to try to figure out, what do I actually want to do with my life? What do I want to be known for? And so I did this exercise where I tried to break down my perfect day into 30-minute increments. An ideal day of like, this would make me feel so fulfilled, happy. And at the core of all of them, I actually think was curiosity as well. Because it wasn't just me doing one thing the entire day and becoming great at it. It was me starting off with a private chef taking a cooking lesson for breakfast, right? Then doing a podcast episode, then going into a lecture, then giving right? It was all these different pieces of my life that I wanted to explore because maybe I got a little ADD, I don't know, but I really think it's more like I'm curious about the world. There's so many cool things in life that hopefully we'll all be lucky enough to experience most of them, and that's why I love your word curious.
Totally agree, man. I try to adopt that, like in social settings in particular. It's not just the workplace, to ask questions and to learn as much about all the folks in the room as I possibly can, but not in a superficial way. Like, oh, I'm just asking you how you're doing just for pleasantries or just to like make it look like I'm interested, but to actually learn about as many people in the room as I can to try to build relationships there.
Love it. It's always understanding, what's around you, but then like the why. Why is this all the case? So I love it. So RJ, let's go a little bit back into your history. I remember growing up, you behind, was it home plate, recording on the BL radio or whatever, the play-by-play of the baseball games, right? You started your own club, your own radio club. You got the whole high school to listen, right? Everyone was chiming in. So in the high school days, did you always know that you wanted to get into journalism?
So at the moment, my goal in high school was to be the voice of the Orioles. And I got this piece of advice that I mentioned earlier in the pod when we first started on the elevator pitch section, was that someone in the business, he was a writer, he said, if you want to be able to present on camera or on broadcast, you have to know how to write. You need to know how to craft a story. You need to learn how to interview folks, yada, yada, yada. So I went down the path of taking more writing classes in school, scripting out different elements of the radio show that you just mentioned, scripting out my questions for my guests well in advance to try to develop that writing skill as much as I possibly could. So I'd always wanted to get there to like that broadcast moment, but I knew I had to do all those things and get hands-on experience, like starting the radio club, to even develop some of those skills to get me in that place.
That's interesting. And so after that, RJ, right, let's fast forward a bit. That was high school at BL. In case people didn't pick up on that, BL, Boys Latin, Parker and RJ went to high school there. Awesome high school outside of Baltimore. Now let's fast forward, University of Maryland. We all three were there. I wish we were boys in college. I feel like we would have had a good time.
We would have really hit it off.
I think so. At Bentley's, our favorite place. Shout out Scott Van Pelt. Right, so you're getting your journalism degree. We're going through freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. I know you had some cool internships, but now senior year's coming around the corner. And this is actually where I think Elevation Nation was truly born, when Parker and I and a lot of our friends have this freak out moment of, holy shit, I'm about to graduate. I'm about to enter the real world. What is my life going to look like? So what did you kind of envision for yourself in the future in the real world?
I just wanted to get a job in media, and I was super anxious about getting that opportunity. And not missing out on it, because it's a competitive field, as if most fields have become incredibly competitive no matter what it is. So I was applying to a new job in the media space every single day, all throughout junior year. The simple applications like the ones on LinkedIn where you send your resume instantly, as well as the ones that are more in depth and require written portion and video interview portions and Q&As and all that good stuff. So that's what I was fixated on my senior year, was at least getting a few opportunities to be able to make a decision for when the year came, for when the end of the year came, that I could choose one of those three. And I didn't have this gap in between my graduation and getting a job, because I was very nervous about not having that job right out of college.
So you got your job eventually during school, or was it after you graduated?
I got a call from a friend of mine named Tyler, who I'd worked with in the nonprofit space all through high school and throughout college. And it was an offer to come work at a lacrosse media company that was based in New York, run social media for them, and maybe start a YouTube show. So I'd be able to do what I originally wanted to do, which is get on camera and be a broadcaster, be a personality. So I thought on it for a while, and that's the route I ended up going. So I went from the journalism world and working at NBC and all these other press related outlets to signing on to join a lacrosse media company and start a YouTube show from scratch.
Was that challenging, because it probably was not the place that a lot of the journalism majors were going, you were working with or in school with? Like, were you scared? Like, holy crap, I'm going this totally different route. I'm going into a new city, and I'm obviously, it's a big step for me, but there's always that but. It's a full-time job.
The funny thing is, my job actually looks sexier than all the jobs that my friends were getting in the journalism world, because you see the people at the desk, at the anchor desk, whether it's Good Morning America or whether it's your local Fox 45 in Baltimore, Parker. The people that are sitting at those desks had to go work in Fargo, North Dakota, and make $20,000 a year and just eat it for 4 or 5 years before even getting a chance to continue to up level and advance to get close to that desk job. So mine, because it incorporated YouTube, was immediately a little bit sexier, at least to me at the time. And I was able to live in New York City, and that's fun. And I learned a lot about myself, and was able to network and continue to grow and meet friends, both socially and professionally. So I'm glad I said yes to the opportunity. But saying yes to that opportunity also presented a whole myriad of challenges for me personally, as well as professionally, because I was starting a YouTube show from scratch. And I don't know if you guys have ever read YouTube comments or seen what people say about people that start shows online. It can be pretty grim. It can get pretty brutal. So I had to deal with that early on.
Sam, I don't think we ever get comments like, "Hey, you suck," or "Hey, I don't know, whatever."
Not
but
yet,
RJ,
but we will. I'm sure.
We're still on the self-awareness bucket, and I think you teed up something really nice. So when something like that happens, in the journalism world, especially when you're in front of a camera, you're open to a lot of criticism, right? Voluntarily. How do you use self-awareness to kind of bring you back to who you are and not let anybody else get in your way?
So I've gotten to a very secure point in my life where I'm secure with my intentions, the choices I'm making, the intentions behind those choices that I'm making, both socially and professionally. So because I have that security and I actually feel that and it's real, none of that bothers me anymore. It did early on. It was tough to get over that. But because I think I have become incredibly self-aware as to what motivates me, the decisions I'm making, who I'm choosing to hang out with, what I'm choosing to do with my time, because I feel so comfortable and secure with those decisions I'm making. The flack and the commentary in the section down below that you're not supposed to read about yourself, that has actually not impacted me at all. Especially now, I actually look forward to it because I'm in such a good place with it. I actually love reading the commentary because it actually does nothing to me at this point, besides provide entertainment for me.
And I will say, I think for every negative comment that you have, RJ, I'm sure you have a ton of positive ones. I saw a cool picture of you with some young PLL fans that said, RJ, can we be on the vlog? Right? And like, you're impacting young lives now, which to me, if you have that interaction with a fan or with some young person that you're helping to shape their life, maybe they want to get into journalism now, they didn't think that was an option. It's like, it wipes out all of the negativity. And I think, Parker jokes that we don't have a lot of criticism yet. I would argue we do. It's just not as public as yours yet, because I remember how fearful I was as a young Smith School of Business corporate consultant professional going out and putting my face and my name on an entrepreneurial concept, right? And like, I know people were talking about us behind our backs, and like, maybe good, maybe bad.
It's just they're just not putting it in the comment section. Yeah,
exactly.
People talk shit about you guys all the time.
Yeah.
Sure.
We're gonna get big enough one day, RJ, that they'll be commenting on it soon enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys had other friends, I'm sure, in college or a few years out of college that launched their own startups or started their own podcasts. And the easy thing to do, and it's like sometimes it's human nature, based upon our own insecurities, to just talk poorly about that or estimate that they're going to fail in order to feel better about yourself. So it's definitely happening. It's definitely happening all the time for you guys.
Oh, it is. No doubt.
Because it happens to everyone.
Of course. So, RJ, let's move into the next section of mental fortitude, which is vision. And obviously, the importance of self-awareness is huge, especially when you're graduating college and trying to figure out the real world. And a big part of getting through the challenges of the real world is using that self-awareness to build your vision for where you want to go. So, RJ, what vision do you have for your life right now?
The vision that I have is one that I adopted a few years ago in particular, and one that's like stuck in the forefront of my mind. And it's to be working with a team cohesively that I enjoy going to work and battle with every day on a consistent basis, and pushing forward for the same common goal. And I know that sounds rather generic and like, oh, who wouldn't want to be working on a team that they enjoy working with and like working towards a common goal? But that's really it for me. I actually haven't gotten incredibly granular as far as to like where I want to be in 5-10 years, because I think especially the pace the world's changing now when it comes to the media landscape, the whole landscape's going to be changed in another 5 to 10 years. So it's tough to even get there mentally. It's also a question that just honestly just intimidates me when people ask, oh, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. I can't even envision that.
It's the worst question you can ask. Like, I hate when people say like a typical interview question is, where will you be in 5 years? Like, do you know where you're going to be in 5 years? Because I surely don't. Like, come on, man.
Like, are you looking for me to say a type? Like, are you looking for me to say I want to be the CEO of a big business? Like, I don't know. What are you expecting out of me with that question?
I like it when people ask that question. I like bringing it back to the self-awareness pillar and being like, I want to be happy. I want to be fulfilled. I want to make an impact, right? It's like, why do we tie that question and our success to positions? Why don't we tie it to feelings that we have, or like how we wake up every day? To your point, RJ, like, I want to wake up, work with amazing people, and love what I do every day. It's like, yeah, that's bringing you fulfillment and joy and happiness and a challenge. Like, can't that be enough for where I want to be in 5 years? Why does it have to be a title?
And
maybe that's the answer they're looking for.
Maybe it is. But I do think there certainly is some value to a question like that. It doesn't have to be 5 years necessarily, but if I'm a hiring manager and I have a map in mind for where this position that I'm hiring for is going to go, I want to make sure the role is aligning with where they want to go with their career trajectory. But you don't have to give me like a specific, you don't have to get incredibly granular with me. I just want to make sure that the position aligns with where you want to be down the road.
Yeah, no, completely. So let's, I guess, pivot a bit from thinking professionally here. And let's go to RJ as the human being, as the person. Do you ever take a step back and try to figure out, well, just who do I want to be in a bit? right? And I think maybe it's sometimes hard because we're all so passionate and invested in what we do. So it's hard to split the two sometimes. Do you ever take a step back and be like, all right, I have all these awesome PLL goals with media that I want to have, but also like, damn, my 20s are flying by. Like, what other things in my life do I want to do? Like skydive or, I don't know, take vocal lessons, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a really good question. It's one that comes to the forefront of my mind in the off season. So I blind myself with work all during the PLL season, which runs from June to September. We're on the road every weekend. We're in a new market every single weekend, flying to new cities. So if there's any problems that arise in my life or anything that arises like on my, like for me personally, I'm able to just say, I'm too busy to worry about this, get back to work. Now, when the season comes to an end mid-September and I start getting more of a work-life balance and having these opportunities to hang out with my friends and do things like skydiving or going to a 4-day music festival or going to going on a trip to Europe with my 5 best friends, those are the opportunities that I recognize much more often in the off season, to where now I've really shifted a lot of my philosophy with those opportunities, just saying yes to just going for it, and taking advantage of the opportunity because the window is shrinking. I mean, I'm going to be at wedding age soon. I'm 26. Wedding
Dude,
age
I feel like
comes,
we're already
like
there.
20. It's coming. Like some of our friends have certainly gotten married, but we're about to hit that age where we just go to wedding after wedding, and that can be intimidating for people. It doesn't worry me as much. Like I don't look on my Instagram feed and think, wow, I'm behind. Yeah. I need to find someone. It's the inverse for me. I want to take more advantage of the time that I have being single before I meet someone that might be the one for me down the road.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sam.
No, I was going to say, it's an interesting insight. I had that realization on Instagram the other day, too. I was waiting to do an episode with Parker about it. But, like, I feel like everyone got engaged in the last 2 months. I don't know what happened. I feel like every time I open Instagram.
People are just, I think people need to fill their time. Like, they think that because we have had this sunken time in COVID, like, yeah. I need to advance my life. Like, people look at marriage as a sign of just advancing.
Sure.
In your life, like you get a badge for it, or like it means
it's like the game of life, man. You get a little badge or whatever, yeah.
Right, and it means you're doing the right thing. It's odd. It's the whole thing is odd. Yeah, marriage is one in particular that really F's me up mentally. Like the whole like buying a ring for someone and how somehow what you spend on that equates to how much you love that person, and then you need to like move in with them and spend the rest of your life with that person, and there's so much to it.
RJ,
it's really
if you love someone, man, you love someone, and you'll do anything for that person.
Yeah,
good job. Cover for your girlfriend, Parker. I'm sure she's listening outside
RJ,
right now.
I recently moved in with my girlfriend, so I have to. She listens to the podcast, so we need.
Okay, awesome, great cover.
Yeah, I got you.
No, it's fun. It is funny though, right? Like, I would love for us in 5 years to do this again in person with a bourbon in hand, right? And see how we kind of our mindsets change, right? Because like think to 5 years ago, we were buying like Stoli punches and vibing, and that we were thinking to like the next day, right? Like not even this introspective, and it's just so funny how like slowly you mature, slowly you start to become introspective, slowly you gain mental fortitude. And I don't think you ever stop gaining this concept of mental fortitude, right? Like we're going to continue to grow and learn and figure out who we are and to be better in touch with what we want out of life in that moment as we get older. So it's definitely cool. I'm excited.
RJ, when, obviously when you talk about your vision, both professionally and personally, everyone sees their vision as something very positive. But when something negative in your life happens, usually it comes out of nowhere. How do you bring yourself back to RJ and get yourself back on track?
Just looking around, and sometimes it's just as simple as that. Whether that's where I'm living at, the opportunities I've been given up to this point, how lucky I've been able to be on the track that I'm at and be associated with the people socially and professionally that I've had the luck of running into. And I try to stack all of those up and compare it to the one loss that I might have just experienced, whether it came in the workplace or whether it came the death of a friend or family member, or I failed a class or something like that. There's all kinds of different elements, like various levels of a loss that you might consider. So I try to stack those up and compare them, because the wins and the opportunities and the luck that I've experienced usually far outweighs any loss that I'm going through, or spurt of pain that I'm experiencing in the moment.
I think that's a really eloquent answer and a lot of guidance there. And I kind of do a similar thing too, is just putting things in perspective is really grounding, right? And it sounds really bad, but think of like a horrible, horrible scenario and just the worst thing you can think of in the world. I sure hope it's not equivalent to that, right? And like just bringing you back to how really big of a deal is what you're going through. And it's okay to grieve. It's okay to mourn. It's okay to struggle, right? Like those are okay emotions for men to have. It's all right. Like we all have to go through it. But how do you respond and how do you recover as you compare it to other things? So I think that's really insightful. I want to slowly talk about and transition into this concept to RJ that I've been really curious to get your thoughts on, which is I think you have put yourself in an amazing situation, right? Like you have one of the coolest jobs I've ever seen and talked to. Someone that like I'm jealous, man. I think it is so cool. You get to meet some amazing people. You have fans, you're creating content, you love the team you're working with. And there's no doubt in my mind you worked your ass off to get here. And I'm stealing a little bit out of a Guy Raz and How I Built This. I don't know if you listened to that podcast, but he talks a little bit about this concept of how much of it was skill and hard work and how much of it was luck. And I think that transitions us into this last bucket of mental fortitude, which is accountability. And Parker and I always talk about you got to be accountable and do these steps and hold yourself to make sure you get to where you want to go. And while that is definitely a majority of the battle, sometimes the stars have to align and opportunities have to arise and you have to take them. So I guess I'm just curious, how do you think you positioned yourself to be where you are now and make sure you were ready to seize on the moment when those stars aligned?
There's an element of consistency that's always there for me and has been there from grade school through college till now, that I think has been the largest contributing factor to what I've been able to experience and got myself to this point right where I am now. And that is attacking every conversation, every room that I walk into with a really high level of positivity, energy and engagement with those that I'm speaking to. And that coupled with everything else that comes that you just mentioned, work ethic, luck, there's a number of other factors there. But man, I have never met someone or engaged in a conversation or introduced myself to a group of people where I'm the one that's not bringing the most energy or passion or excitement or energy to the conversation. And I'm not trying to, I'm not, some people at home might be like, wow, this guy must be the most obnoxious dude ever if he's just like saying what's up, like,
believe me,
just going through the roof every time you meet someone. No, it's a little bit different than that, but it's more just making sure the other person knows that you're engaged in what they're saying, that you're listening to them, and that you're bringing positive energy to the project that you're working on, or whether you're just meeting socially. So I think that element of consistency has been huge for me.
I think, the way I took that, RJ, is you're you. Every room you walk into, every person you meet, every interaction you have, you know that the best comes when you're you. And that comes with having a tremendous amount of self-awareness and knowing who you are at your core and what you bring to the table and what works for you. And while as a young adult, it's very difficult at times to figure that out. But for your case, RJ, you've known that and you've doubled down on it. And look where you are now, in an amazing place, doing amazing things, meeting amazing people, making a difference in the world. So, I mean, kudos to you, like seriously, kudos to you, because that is what it's all about, right? Being you.
Exactly. And I think you're spot on, Parker, and that's why it doesn't feel like a chore to me at all. At all. it doesn't feel, it's not something I need to think about. You know, like posture is something that you need to keep on like top of your mind if you want to make sure that you're always presenting yourself well and you're not slouching over. This for me is just kind of built in.
Yep.
So I don't even, it's happening without me knowing it, which is something I'm grateful for. But I think I've probably thought about it enough to where I've just ingrained it into my brain.
So I got another question on accountability. RJ, at the PLL, and I'm sure some of the other things that you do on top of the PLL, you're surrounded by some of the highest performing people in the world. You're surrounded by professional athletes, very successful business people, people who are really making a difference in the world. How are these people holding you accountable, and what are you learning from them that you've implemented into your life?
There was one lesson that I learned. I was grateful to learn early on. It was in college. I was working for a nonprofit, and the manager that I was reporting to, I had a project that I needed to do for it was for Veterans Day, I believe. It was a post that needed to get out on this certain day and time. I hadn't done it all day. I ended up posting it out at like 11:30 at night. Why the hell would you make a post for a holiday or whatever? I might not have been Veterans Day. It was a holiday post for what needed to go out then, and I posted it damn near at midnight because I got back from the bar and I just forgot all about it. And it was brought up to me the next day, hey, why are we posting this at 11:30 at night? Like, why wasn't this done in advance? And my reaction was so immediate. It was just, I really wanted to test out engagement opportunities for late night posts because I think that I just wanted to just try something new. It didn't work out. And the immediate response from my manager was, this is the ultimate spin zone. Like, what? Like, just tell me you forgot to do it. And it was very sobering in the moment because when you get called out on your bullshit, it's just a very, oh, okay. Why am I trying to generate an excuse? And that is the one that sealed it for me. So anytime I mess up down the road or messed up down the road from there, I'm so eager to admit that I had just failed, and then I immediately present a plan or next steps for how I can do better or overcome that. And man, it's tough about learning that lesson early on. The people that you work with, the shitty excuses that people float out, or how many people just can't say, I fucked that up. That was it's kind of wild because I think a lot of them haven't had that experience where they just realized, wow, I just need to own the mistake that I made versus coming up with a bunch of different excuses.
I got to highlight here because I love that story so much. I mean, there's a lot of value for Elevation Nation. Accountability is you being honest with yourself and others, right? Like you can hold yourself accountable and fudge everything, right? Like I could make a list that says, Sam, get your ass up every morning at 6:30 and go work out, right? And that could slowly transform into, Sam, get up and move. Get up and, just walk around the block, right? Like,
true, though.
It slowly shifts, and in your mind, you justify it. You, tweak the goal. You tweak the target to make yourself feel better when, really look yourself in the mirror, say, I'm full of shit. I'm not being honest with myself. I'm not holding myself accountable. I'm moving my goalpost here to make myself feel better. Right. And when you can finally look yourself in the mirror and be like, I either missed my goal, which is okay. Right. I hit snooze for an hour today. I'm pissed at myself, but I did it. Right. Fine. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 6:30. We're going to start it all over again. But I'm not making an excuse and pretending that I did. Right. And you got to be honest with yourself in order to hold yourself accountable, or no one in your life ever will hold you accountable.
Sam, you just teed it up onto the tee for me. That's my common phrase I like to go to. It takes mental fortitude to get over your ego and own your mistakes. It's as simple as that, right? It takes mental fortitude. I'm not going to say mental toughness because our word is mental fortitude here on the Elevation Nation podcast. But seriously, And you know what's crazy about that, RJ? If you own up to something like that in front of someone who knows you did something wrong, think about how much more respect you would get from owning up to a mistake or owning up to something that you did wrong. That's the way I see it.
You're exactly right, Parker, and I'm so glad I developed that muscle early on to just be able to admit, like, hey, if I did fall short of something, admit it quickly, and then address how you can fix it going forward. And it's such an important lesson that I'm so glad I learned in college, and it didn't take me 5 years into the workforce to get it down.
And so I think, RJ, real quick, you have a much broader and bigger fan base than we do at Elevation Nation. We're pretty much people in the nation. It's right in the college zone and graduating. I think you have a lot of PLL fans that follow you that are younger that maybe might be listening to this. So I just want to highlight that point for all the young PLL fans, RJ fans that are out there that are listening to this podcast going, well, what am I supposed to take away from this College to the Real World podcast? That right there, that lesson of you being honest with yourself and other people to hold yourself accountable is the lesson that you should take away from this podcast. Because to RJ's point, if you can develop that early on and get that muscle to be automatic, you will succeed so much faster than all of your peers. So I just want to highlight that for the young people out there. But this is awesome. RJ, I want to transition now into our final segment of the Elevation Nation podcast. We got some rapid fire questions for you, man. So
I'm sorry,
okay.
Sam.
Parker's taking over.
I didn't want you to steal it. I saw you were looking at the screen.
I like this question.
You were going to steal it.
Go ahead.
All right, RJ. I grew up around lacrosse. Sam's into lacrosse now. For those who don't watch lacrosse, what's your 30-second pitch on why they should start watching lacrosse?
Lacrosse is a really fast-paced, hard-hitting game that engages you the moment you turn it on your screen, especially if you're tuning into an NBC broadcast for a PLL game. The athleticism, the skill work, the agility of these athletes, the speed of these athletes in which they're running up and down the field the entire game for, and let's not forget the accuracy. The amount of SportsCenter top 10 shots that we were able to see this past season in the PLL in particular, absolutely mind blowing. So if you're looking for something fast paced, if you're looking for constant action, similar to basketball where there's a lot of back and forth and there's consistent scoring opportunities, check out lacrosse because you won't be disappointed.
Sam, are you sold?
Bro, am I sold? Are you kidding me? I was going to add...
Turn on the PLL game in particular, and you'll be hooked.
Exactly. And I was going to add, I would say for the most part, in a lot of the broadcasts, you guys help explain some of these rules as you're growing, as lacrosse is the fastest growing sport. You guys help walk people through some of the nuances of the rules. So if anyone's a little bit nervous about, I don't know the rules of lacrosse, tune in, listen, and announcers will help walk you through some of the logistics of the game. It is easy to understand and pick up, and one of the oldest, coolest games in America.
Can I say one thing about the PLL broadcast? I love that you guys interview players in the middle of the game.
Oh yeah,
dude, that is amazing. Yeah. That's like,
and not just interview them, because some people think, oh, you're taking the player out of the game a bit. You know, they're coming over, they're out of breath after scoring.
Reaction.
That's a piece of it. It's reaction. That's great. I think the better content, Parker, is when we go right to their helmet after they score and we get to hear exactly what they're saying with their teammates, or the defender on defense that's shouting out the game plan while he's leading the defense. Those are the moments I think can hook a potential first fan if they stumble upon a lacrosse broadcast, hearing what's happening on the field.
Love it.
All right, so your next rapid fire question, RJ, is what is the best book you've ever read?
The best book I've ever read. Really, really good question. And trying to think of I'm going back and forth between recent books that I've read and books way early on in my childhood.
I know. You can say 2 or 3 if you'd like. We're always looking for book recs.
Wow. I would say, actually, hang on, I have it right here. Hang on. Blanking on the title. One sec. Who wrote this book? Damn it. What is the name of this book? Damn it. This is the one I want to say because it's about self-awareness. Hang on. I got this.
No worries.
It is. Hang on. You're going to be able to cut this audio out, right?
Yeah, don't worry. Could you imagine? We left
Okay,
this in, we're like, oh my God. It's like,
Who's this dude's name? Man's Search for Meaning.
love it. What a book.
Man's Search for Meaning. Yeah, really good book. And honestly, man, the biggest takeaway here, I just love the how the author puts you in the shoes of himself back during the Holocaust, and you're able to truly, thanks to his writing style and the descriptions he uses, you're able to really put yourself in that setting and be able to compare what you're going through now. It seems so incredibly insignificant to the troubles that he himself went through.
Mm-hmm.
So that is by far of recent the best book that I've read, and I highly suggest it. Man's Search for Meaning.
I would say that is without a doubt the best book I have ever come across. Talk about like a tearjerker, but also just like when life really hits you hard, you're reminded through that book that wow, okay, there was some other shit that went on in the world, and some people had a really, 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 bad experience and whatnot. It's a great book. All right, so last one. It's not going to be as, I guess, intense or emotional as the Man's Search for Meaning answer. But what's your favorite part about L.A.? You're a Baltimore guy, dude. I know that. You're
Best
Baltimore
part about
heart.
LA?
Like
Simple. It's so simple. Do you know what it is?
Sunshine.
Oh, is it?
It's the weather.
The weather.
It is the weather. They could up my taxes to 60% out here from whatever they are now. Actually, I'll pay 75% of my money in taxes to live in this like movie set false reality of a climate where it's 78 degrees and sunny every single day, and I don't have to worry about the weather getting me down, like getting my mentals down or putting a damper on my plans for the day. It actually makes me laugh sometimes of how ridiculously consistently amazing the weather is out here. So it's not even close.
The Baltimore weather's like fine. It's cold. It's fine. It's. Dude, springtime, I get screwed by the pollen, man. It's the worst.
Oh, dude, me too. Okay, that's no different out here. Different out here. But I know what you mean. I just you don't get. When I was in New York, man, in the summer, you get swamp ass going to work every day. And then in the winter, you get that brief period between summer and winter, which is great. Light jacket weather. It's nice to go out to rooftop bars, all that fun stuff. And then winter, you're freezing your ass off outside. And then you go down in the hot subway, you're sweating, you take your jacket off. It's a bit of a mess. So I don't miss that.
I'm coming to visit, RJ. I've never been to California. I'm coming out.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Shout out to my other Lacrosse Connect, Lucas Kotler. I'm coming to visit you too, man. Yale Lacrosse, Denver Lacrosse. But I need to get out to California. Yeah. I've never been, so it's definitely in the future for me. So, RJ, we had an incredible conversation. I think your fans, PLL fans, and Elevation Nation have gotten the chance to get to know you a little bit on a deeper level. But I want to end with a question that we ask every single guest, now 100 and something episodes in. And it's a pretty deep one, so you can take your time in answering this. But we've talked all about this concept that we love called mental fortitude. And Parker and I truly believe that this is the missing piece for young people to follow their dreams and conquer the real world. And we talked about, to us, mental fortitude is self-awareness, vision, and accountability. But that's to me and Parker. What does mental fortitude mean to you?
mental fortitude to me is being so incredibly sure of yourself, your actions, and secure with your own intentions that the noise from the outside world has little to no impact on the decisions that you make in your personal and your professional life. So that means, and this actually falls into one of our values, the PLL, which is like blocking out the noise. It's a really important one for us because there's so much going on around us, and whether it's positive or negative commentary around what we're doing, or just someone's opinion about the recent choice that you made, if you're confident in yourself, your intentions, what you want to do, the road you want to go down, those opinions of others will start meaning less and less over time. And it's taken me a bit to get to this point, but I feel like I'm in a really good spot with it. I think I'll be in a better spot with it in a few years as I continue to age. But because I am so secure with myself at this current moment, those opinions really, really don't bother me at all. It's really true. It's not something I'm trying to like brag about. It's taken a while to get to this moment, and I hope it stays here, and I hope it only gets better.
You put it very well. I mean, I'm speechless in the sense of the way you put it, because it's so important. You know, when you're a young adult, you're graduating college, you have you're going into the real world, your first job, a lot of things going on. There's so much noise. There's so much like thinking this, but that's not actually what's really going on. There's just so much that's going on. And if you can block that out and be confident in who you are, where you're going, and how you're going to get there, self-awareness, vision, and accountability, anything is possible. I truly believe it. And I know you do, RJ, and Sam, I know you do too. RJ, this has been so much fun. Like, seriously.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Parker, Sam.
Lying when I say I put you on my list. This I've been looking for. I know we were going back and forth on the calendar, figuring it out. Like, this,
we got it done.
This was so much fun. And I just want to say, like, I respect the hell out of you, and I know that you're making such a big impact in the world with both PLL, Shootout for Soldiers, and all the other things that you're doing. It's just incredible to see, young BL guys absolutely crushing it all the way across the country, making such a difference in the real world. So, I mean, thanks for joining us and catching up. Seriously.
I appreciate it, gents. Thanks for the thoughtful questions and the back and forth. This was great. I'm excited to share it with the friends and family of mine.
Sammy,
love it. Awesome. Elevation Nation. Until next week. Peace.